Shalom, peace and blessings. Now let's get straight into it. So, even though I do believe this is pretty much low hanging fruit at this point, especially at the time I'm recording this, I did at least want to touch on one scripture pertaining to this event with ex NFL star and I believe Hall of Famer Shannon Sharp, and now major podcaster Shannon Sharp, a former NFL tight end Shannon Sharp, and the many allegations that have been levied against him. So, like I said, low hanging fruit. I think pretty much anyone with a sound mind can see what's going on here, but it's really something else to see this brother, Shannon Sharp, go through all this, especially in the midst of him, supposed to be at least allegedly having a 9-figure deal, like $100 million deal with his podcast that he was on the verge of closing, and then all these different allegations and things coming up against him. And like I said, pretty much at this point, y'all kind of know what's going on. But again, I did want to at least touch on one thing. We can learn from other men's downfall, right? That's one. There's one. I would say even gift from the Most High that I've always had. I've always been able to look at others, whether it's people in my family, friends, what have you, even in fictional tales, all right, or whatever it is, and learn from their mistakes before I even made the mistake myself, and then see someone else in a situation that they're in and be like, nah, that ain't gonna be me. So there's many different things that you could learn from Shannon Sharp. Number one, look at this. I didn't know this one until I first started, got the idea about recording this message. Apparently, Shannon Sharp's ex, Michelle Evans, was scared for her life as his threats for filing restraining order against him. So this is Michelle Evans here. I guess one of his exes that she claimed that Shannon Sharp, I guess you can't say that word here on YouTube, but this word in 2010. First of all, who would want to do that to this? I mean, come on. Maybe she looked different in 2010 or something, but I doubt it. But that's one thing about Shannon Sharp. He's always liked the so-called white woman, and he just be acting woke and all that on television, like he liked so-called black women. But that's really not his first choice. But either way, he has these numerous allegations out there now. More and more people are starting to come out and say that there was some type of sexual misconduct, or they filed a case against him in prior years. And I think he even got fired from CBS because of something similar to this, if I'm not mistaken. But the biggest cautionary tale to me when we look at Shannon Sharp is this. Let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 42, verse 12. Behold, not everybody's beauty, and sit not in the midst of women. Being able to control yourself as a man is one of the most powerful things that you possibly can do as a man. It's one of your biggest strengths because most men cannot do it. And that's why this is here. That's why Sirach had to write this here for us as men. Behold not everybody's beauty, and sit not in the midst of women. You have to not only one, because look, things change. Like if you, I guess that's what they call an incel, right? I didn't know the definition of an incel at first, or what they meant with that. But essentially, if you're involuntarily celibate, you get labeled as an incel, right? Or that's one word that they call for it. If you, involuntarily, meaning you can't have sex if you wanted to with a woman. But things change when you have access, when you have a certain amount of money, or you have access to certain women. That's when things change. That's when you really have to show and prove that you can control yourself. You can control both heads, right? But when you don't have that access, it's easy. It's easy to say, "Oh, I ain't studying these women." You can't even get them, because I said that before in like one of the previous lessons on a similar topic. Most men be saying this stuff like on YouTube and all over the place. They women this and that, but they never really been in a position where they could even get a woman for real or get multiple women if they really wanted to. But someone like Shannon Sharp, he really doesn't have that issue, because regardless of the brother's looks or whatever, what have you, he definitely has the money in. Say if he didn't even have it in his account, whatever, I don't know how much money he has or doesn't have, but I mean, I'm presuming, based on different things we know about him, that, the brother definitely has some money. But outside of that, what we know for a fact that can't be disputed is now that he has fame. And once you have some type of status, getting a woman is just no problem at all. You just will never have any issues at this point, because a woman pretty much wants to associate herself with someone like a Shannon Sharp, even though he is, he pushing 60. Either way, it's no problem for him to pull somebody. But that's when you really have to be at your best. We all raised differently, have different type of environments we were in. And, maybe you're someone that wasn't really popping in high school. Maybe some of y'all in high school. I don't know. Let me know if you a younger brother, you still in high school or something watching this. But either way, say you in high school, you may be that man, or you may not be. You may go to college and be that man, but you weren't in high school. You may be that man in high school and college. And then after that, you may not be the man, or you may be the man all throughout all three, whatever the case is. You eventually, it depends on the way that you set up things in your career path and how much money you have access to, or maybe even looks, because looks can get you there when money and everything else can't. Or if you're quote unquote charming, if you just have a way with the ladies, the gift of gab, you'll have access to women. That won't be as big of an issue for you as it may be for someone else that hasn't reached that point yet. But most men at some point, one or another, they've had a chance to have access to multiple women. And I'm not saying multiple women, meaning like same time, nothing like that. But it's just, you have access to get a woman. But this is the time to show the most restraint, not when, you ain't studying them or you don't have access to them. So this is heavy, not beholding every woman's beauty and sit not in the midst of women. It says here because it's sitting out in the midst of women. And it says it's here because this is when bad things happen, when you sitting in the midst of women. These women here could be somebody else's. These women could be plotting against you. Like the previous lesson that I did on if you should have a marriage certificate as a man, and I said on there, I don't know how brothers was taking it. They may take it as I'm like a big proponent of that or something, and I'm not. I'm just a proponent of not treating your wife like every other woman out on the streets, and being able to recognize when you have a wife material woman that you vetted thoroughly for many years. Right, for 5+, 7+ years, 10+ years, and you know what type of character she has, and she not out here just trying to take your money, to make certain precautions for her and your family, your future. But in general, no, I don't. That again, that's only a 0.01% time that is applicable. But I just wanted to talk about it because I didn't see nobody else talking about it. But in general, no, 99% of the time, that's just not the case. Like, that's why, again, this scripture is so heavy. So you don't end up like a Shannon Sharp, right? Like this brother. And, I'm a big believer in a lot of things like this, not being something that's just coincidence. That's a whole nother aspect, a whole nother angle that I touch on just briefly here and there, but it's not the main thing I want to talk about. Whether this is something that's scripted or not, either way, again, it's a cautionary tale to take Sirach 42:12 to heart. not to behold every woman's beauty, even when you have the chance to do so, even when you have the access, right? Because this is the type of situation that you get in, because if you're not Shannon Sharp, he look like like you finna say something stupid, but but even if you're not a Shannon Sharp, these types of things have destroyed many men's lives. The woman have, putting yourself in this type of situation, messing with a younger woman or something like that, or just having a woman put you through the ringer. You spend all your money on her and all of this. She drain you dry and then leave you for somebody else. These things happen all too often. And, this is why you cannot behold every woman's beauty just because she looks good to you in a physical sense. You have to be spiritually minded when it comes to the woman. And I think that's the biggest downfall of the man is we just do not know how to look at a woman spiritually. And to me, maybe it's because the man himself is just not that spiritual. And that's why we lack the ability to be able to discern someone else's spirit. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but most men just, they look at the outward first. And really, to me, obviously the outward is important, right? Of course, you want your woman to look good. You want her body to look good, all this stuff. We're not discounting that. That is very important. However, literally the most important thing about that woman is how she is spiritually, not quote unquote personality, but who she is as a person. And that's who you are spiritually. That's who you actually are. What's in your spirit is who you actually are. Okay, your physical appearance is only one thing, but the spirit within, what the scriptures call the inner man, that's who you actually are. And you have to be able to discern who and what your woman really is, who she is in the spirit. Okay, what she actually stands for. Because again, when you have that type of woman, and a true wife material woman with a great spirit, she's not going to have the spirit of adultery. She's not going to have the spirit of wanting to just jump off to the next thing like most women have. Most women are just looking for the bigger bag. There's a woman that literally told my woman she's married and quote unquote married. And she told my woman that she told her husband, this person, she told her husband that if somebody else comes to her that is able to provide better than her current husband, that she would be out of there and she would go to somebody else. And she told her man that. Now, if that was me, that would have been her last day with me, or at least that I would have began preparation to leave at that very point in time. Literally, I'm not joking about that at all. It may sound like a joke, but I'm being dead serious. I would have either literally just put her out that day, or I would have started building and getting another apartment somewhere, a house somewhere else, or making my arrangements right then and there, because I would have known that wasn't the one. But either way, that's how that woman is just being honest. But a lot of women are like that. But if you get a certain woman, that's not how she's built. She's not just looking for the next man to, jump on the bandwagon. But when you have somebody like this, this Michelle Evans, it's really convenient that you want to talk about this right now. Right. And Shannon Sharp deserves all of the blame, 100% of it. But we, of course, we have to address this too as well. Like, why come out right now? If you filed a defamation case against him in 2023 and you accused him of this back in 2010, why are you even talking right now? Of course, she just wants to be put in the spotlight because that's one of the woman's main currency is attention, especially somebody like this that nobody's probably looking at her at all right now. And of course, she wants some attention. Of course. But either way, because again, I'm not excusing Shannon Sharp at all, because I think that, well, depending on how you look at it, I was going to say he's been foolish, but I mean, really depends on how you look at it. He definitely did some things that put him in his career in jeopardy. But either way, if that's what he want to do, it's whatever. But I mean, I know I wouldn't do that. Well, I ain't even gonna say what I would and wouldn't do if I was him. I pray that I wouldn't do that. At least I should say. But anyways, back to the point. Either way, again, you don't have someone you don't want to have someone that's like that first accuser that came out that's just looking for a bag. I was actually talking to my brother and he presented an amazing point that's just quite obvious. Why is she looking for $50 million from Shannon Sharp instead of putting him in jail if she was really upset about what he did to her? Why are you not searching for jail? It's a lot of times where you'll see a situation where something happens and the person tries to settle for an amount in court and they like, nah, I don't want the money. I want justice. I want you to go to jail. There's no amount of money you can pay me. You know, and everybody does have a price. So I'm not even saying that, she shouldn't be seeking any money at all if that was what really happened, which I don't believe. I don't believe none of that stuff that happened. I think the biggest foul is that he put himself in that position. I don't think that he there was any wrongdoing, but I don't know. It could have been. I don't know. I didn't see it with my own two eyes, so I can't say or not. But just from what I see, I don't think there was any type of misconduct. But either way, I'm not saying she shouldn't want any money at all from her perspective if that did happen. But what I am saying is that why don't you want him to go to jail? Why is the only thing you talking about is a $50 million settlement? Like $50 million? And you wouldn't take 10? Allegedly, he offered 10, right? He offered $10 million. And you don't want to take 10? Yeah. You were told, because you probably wanted to take that 10, especially this girl at the time. They said she's 19 years old. And I don't have this pulled up like on a page because I think everybody pretty much know all this stuff at this point. Now I'm about to release this. It's already been some time, but 19 at the time, she probably saw that 10 million like, shoot, I'm straight. But, she got some type of handler, whether it be that lawyer, the lawyer with Busby or whatever his name is, either her lawyer that's on the case or some other handler was like, nah, you got to go for more than that. You thinking 10 million, you can get 5 times more. You can get 50 million. So, keep that in mind that she's not seeking any type of actual punishment from him. She just wants the money. And that's what makes it very obvious that it's a cash grab. But if you Shannon Sharp, how do you put yourself in this position? Number one, obviously the brother has a thirst for younger women. And, that is what it is on that one. I don't agree. I personally have never been a young woman chaser, but I know that different men have different tastes. So I just kind of let that be what it be on that, like when it comes to having multiple wives, there's a lot of like that doesn't apply to most men. But if there is some men that applies to, I'm not going to, bat an eye at it. It is what it is. If you can make that work, then you can make it work. I think in a lot of cases that a man really just want more than one woman. And he wants to do that according to what he believes, according to the law. And just, that's it. There's no real other purpose behind that. He just want to be with more than one woman, where it was different in antiquity in the time of the scriptures when these men had multiple women. I believe it was different than what we do now. But either way, if that man can make that work, it is what it is. Now, for a man 56 going for a woman, or if she's even fit to be called a woman, someone that's 19 years old, I think it's off. But from a certain standpoint, I'll let that kind of cancel out. The biggest issue is that you so sloppy that you allowing something like this to even happen. You being recorded without your consent and you don't know what's going on. You allow someone to come into your inner circle that you didn't thoroughly vet. Which you thought someone 19 years old would be mature enough to not have something like this even possibly happen. I think most of these other guys, these entertainers, they do a very good job of maintaining their concubines and their women, either through signing NDAs or signing something or whatever they having them doing. He need to holler at somebody like LeBron or Drake and all that don't be having that much stuff come out about them, because that is just ridiculous. How do you even put yourself in this position? But I know how. He's not. He doesn't know the scriptures, so he's not heeding to the word. Behold, not everybody's beauty. When he saw that woman, or again, if she's fit to be called a woman, when he saw that girl, I think they met at the gym, right? He was like, "Oh man, I got to have it." Not thinking about all the different things that could come with that, right? Someone that you haven't thoroughly vetted. When you at his level, you have to pay attention. Matter of fact, it doesn't really matter what level you at to finish the scripture and sit down in the midst of women. But it doesn't matter where you are. It really doesn't matter where you are. You should act like or what Shannon Sharp should have done. You should really be like that no matter how much money you have or what your status is in life. You should view any person that comes into your life and thoroughly vetting them. Before you just let people come to your house, before you let, someone come into your space, you should be thoroughly vetting them, right? And as a man, you should be thoroughly vetting a woman 1,000 times out of 1,000. And especially if you have an age gap like this, if you are, 30 and you dealing with someone that's under the age of 25, you have to understand that there's a much higher chance of you dealing with certain things than a woman that's a little bit more mature. And again, this is probability. I'm talking probability because I'm not saying that a woman that was 45 wouldn't have did the same thing. Right. I'm just saying that it's just more likely that that is the case. And another aspect, of course, is the racial aspect. Her being a so-called white woman, which I think that also washes out because a so-called black woman or so-called black girl would have did the same thing too, or possibly could have did the same thing. So I don't think that that's, as relevant of a point outside of the fact of mentioning that he clearly prefers so-called white women. Clearly, very, 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 very clear as day. That's his first preference. He just act like he liked a so-called black woman, or he puts on the so-called black persona when he trying to be woke, especially when he was on Undisputed with Skip Bayless. Right, he used to act very woke on that show, and he used to even thank Skip, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. He's say all this little woke stuff on there. But either way, that kind of washes out to me the fact that the original woman. Let's go back. Let's see Shannon Sharp lawsuit. It's the one. What's the original one? Right here, I guess. Shannon Sharp, NFL Hall of Famer, accused of in $50 million civil lawsuit, temporarily stepping away from ESPN duties. Yeah, yeah, she is. Oh, and then the fact that she is a OnlyFans quote unquote model. If that's that ain't sure not the word we should be using, model. So she's a girl that sells her images or what have you, probably body too, on OnlyFans. Now, that's a whole nother issue too, that you will allow someone like that already has shown that she has no respect for herself. If someone is on OnlyFans, they're only a glorified prostitute. Even if you aren't physically selling your body, you are prostituting yourself and your image for money. In a indirect way, yeah, if you are courting a woman, you paying for her meals and stuff, you could say, well, I'm paying that way. Might as well. No, this is completely different. If you set up a platform and take images and sell them to random men, that's completely different because it's just random men. You're trying to get paid more and more money. So you're trying to market yourself. That's prostitution. You're a prostitute. So for you to allow a harlot, and if we've seen a woman, I mean, she's definitely not even what I would consider someone like that attractive. You allow a woman like that to get you over and even put you in this position to, whether this woman wins the case or not, to distract you, to muddy your public image. is completely unacceptable. You may not be Shannon Sharp, because I'm not. When I say that, meaning like from a status standpoint or anything like that, or how the amount of money that he has, we may not be that on that level. However, again, no matter what level that you own, whether you just have a job or a career, or, own your own business or what have you, you should never allow something like this to happen. I mean, something like this to happen, it needs to be like next level witchcraft that you fell, part of, something that you just couldn't see no matter what. It's like that's someone at CIA level of training that infiltrated you. But something like this is just way too obvious. Like someone that's 19 years old that sells their images on OnlyFans. You surprised that she did something like this? It's obviously what she's trying to do is get some money off of you. Like, come on, man. But, again, one thing to touch on as far as this woman's age, I do believe that that's an issue. But I do understand that a lot of men do, they prefer the younger woman. Me personally, that's just never been my thing. I value talking to a woman about my different perspectives and beliefs, in the way that, I engage with things, and my outlook on life in general, my perspective on business. And I just view my woman as someone I could talk to as that. So I just don't believe most women that's, just way younger than me, especially if they were 19. I'm not 56, not close to it yet, but say if it was someone even 19 right now, I don't see myself being able to relate to them at all and what they got going on. It says here she was 20. Either way, 2019 don't matter. 20 years old, it's only been 2 years since you've been out of high school. And there's just no way I could talk to someone that has only been out of high school for 2 years. We got two completely different perspectives on life, and two different struggles and challenges that we had. We had two different levels, and I just cannot associate myself with a woman like that. And you may be thinking too, or like in Shannon's case, it's just something I'm knocking off. I guess so. But I think even then, I mean, if you 56, you can't just go at least to 30. Like, 32 old, that's like a relic to you. Maybe, I don't know, 25, I guess, but I don't know. But I'm not even gonna get on him on that part, where most brothers may seek issue with that. I just know personally I wouldn't do it. But I know that some men, they do that. We know that was R. Kelly's issue. R. Kelly has a propensity for younger women. I think he went a lot younger though. I think his thing was like 15, 16-ish, 17-ish, somewhere around there. And, the brother should have definitely repented, and not literally, because we know he's not adhering to the scriptures, but, if possible, that was something you would have to repent about and turn your ways from. But yeah, I know that was his thing too. And we completely criticized him, or at least most so-called black people did. But it seemed like with this, it's like, I respect Unc. I stand with Unc. No, I don't stand with this man at all. And he ain't my uncle at all. I ain't never called this nigga Unc. And that's why you got to be careful who you calling Unc and all that. That's just silly to me. You calling somebody Unc. I know it's just, like play cousin, play uncle and all that, but I don't really play all that. Anyways. And of course, you have someone like what's my boy name? Hugh Hefner, that he was messing around with a bunch of younger women, and the man was 80, 90 years old or something before he died. And he was probably messing with women a lot younger than this, and had them up in the Playboy mansion, and also wasn't criticized. And I know people will kind of bring that up, but I never get that point when people bring up other wrong to combat wrong. Like they both were going off. Well, y'all didn't say nothing about Hugh Hefner. Yeah, that don't make this right either. Like they were both going off. That's not a point. What else I want to touch on? That's the main thing. I'm just kind of touching on different things now. As I edit this other video, it just kind of popped into my mind that I wanted to talk about. But behold not everybody's beauty, and sit not in the midst of women. You, as a man, you should not have like a bunch of female friends. Like, what is that? I don't trust no man with a bunch of female friends. You need like one max, maybe two, maybe just maybe two. But if you're not related to a woman, you really should not be in the midst of her like that. The only women that you should care about is your woman, and then secondary, to a certain extent, is your mother. But even then, that's really your father's problem to deal with. The only woman you should even care about her perspectives or opinions is your woman. And that's about it. I don't know about this, female friend type stuff. Again, maybe one, because that does happen. It happens. You have a, quote unquote female friend and things like that, but you should not be sitting in the midst of women. This is when trouble happens. All right. You really shouldn't be around them because, they're going to be trying to get you to go out. All right. So that's mostly what I wanted to go over. We can also head to Sirach 25 real quick. All right. 25 and where we want to go. Verse 23, a wicked woman abateth the courage. All right. A wicked woman abateth the courage. Shannon Sharp, making a heavy countenance and a wounded heart. A woman that will not comfort her husband in distress maketh weak hands and feeble knees. Verse 24, of the woman came the beginning of sin, and through her we all die. Now, the scriptures are so direct when it comes to the wicked woman and how not to deal with her. It's more passages and more accounts on the wicked woman than it is on the righteous woman, I would say, because it's more wicked women, way more, and it's abounded even more in this time than there are righteous women. Again, I want you to understand that if you find a righteous woman, you have found an actual gem, and you don't walk around every day and find that gem. It's not going to be an everyday thing. You should not take most of the women in your life seriously at all unless they've proven that's who they are. And again, that takes years and years to develop to really be able to trust them, to know that they like that. And you have to stop ignoring red flags. You got red flags all over the place, but you just ignoring it. All right. Verse 25, give the water no passage, neither a wicked woman liberty to gad abroad. Well, this is America. This is, or really Babylon HQ. This is, or Babylon in general. This is this world. The wicked woman has liberty to gad abroad. She has that water, that passage. I should say that water has that passage now. That the wicked woman has liberty to do whatever she wants, including creating an OnlyFans account and selling her images to random men on the internet. She has all types of liberties that she was never supposed to be afforded. And that's why there's so much chaos in the world. Okay. But that's why, I don't try to spend all my time talking about the wicked woman, because it's just very simple to me. Literally 99% of the women, probably wicked. Okay. Excluding the men's wives where, they not wicked, but just in general, most of the women, and you see are wicked. It just is what it is. And you should be ignoring them. You should not be taking them serious at all. Most women are just wicked women that has liberty to gad abroad. That's what it is. And you have to have the discernment and build up the discernment and the knowledge to know these things, to know what you're looking at, and not be so easily confused and tricked. All right. To believing that a wicked woman is a righteous woman. That's another skill. That's a complete gift that the Most High has to give you. All right. Either by default, you had it, or the Most High, or you, at least before you come into the knowledge, you had it to a certain extent, I believe, because I think without the scriptures, you don't know what righteous and what's wicked. So, really the Most High gives you that gift, at the beginning of your journey, or you have to, pray and fast forward more, what have you. But that's definitely a gift that you have to have, is that gift of discernment to know what you're looking at. Because a lot of y'all, man, I know a lot of brothers that be with women that I just would have never took seriously. And I used to take women seriously all the way up until now. I took women seriously that I should not have. So I get it. But even after brothers coming to the knowledge of the truth, they still be taking women seriously that I would never even even text, let alone like introduce them to people and let them live with me and all of that. It was just way too many red flags that I noticed, let alone that I know they noticed by actually being with them, and then they end up breaking up. And I'm like, yeah, you can see that one coming. I mean, this was not the one. A woman, a righteous woman, man, she's just completely different from other women around her. Verse 26, if she go not as thou wouldest have her, cut her off from thy flesh and give her a bill of divorce and let her go. How many of you brothers are scared to let the woman go? You got to be like that woman that just don't put up with nothing, that be letting brothers go for the smallest stuff. You got to be like that for real. If you court a woman, before you even get to the point where you consider courting her, she already got to feel and look completely different from everybody else. And if you starting out and you getting red flags at the very beginning, it's been less than 6 months and she already giving you red flags, let her go. Or at least, if you're going to keep her as a concubine, that's on you. But if, you should not be considering her to be a wife. That's what you should not be doing. You seeing all these red flags, man. Look like at the beach, when the waves, when the waves throwing all these red flags and you just accepting it. I mean, we should talk about these things though. What are red flags? Number one, you say something about submission and she just out of here. Oh, I only be submissive to a man that may, you're out. What else? I don't know. It's a lot of things. That's a whole nother topic that we'll go into, because originally we started talking about Shannon Sharp and, not paying attention to every woman that you see and not wanting to pursue every woman you see. That's another topic for another day. But either way, that's how we have to be out here. And you have to take this very seriously, brothers, because everything is tied to this. How you are spiritually, your success in the world, meaning your success at your job, career, or business, it's all tied to the woman that you with, directly, indirectly. Because a wicked woman, like it says here, it's going to cause a wounded heart. How can you function with a wounded heart? I think most brothers of age know that this is 1,000% true, because you've had a woman do you wrong and you know what that feels like. All right. It causes it and make it weak hands and feeble knees. Feeble knees, you ain't praying. You're not praying to the Most High, and you cook. All right. And then you worried about a wicked woman, about an OnlyFans, OnlyFans account holder. That's whack. So, and I guess that would be another red flag. Someone on OnlyFans, like, come on, like, stop it. That's why I'm always a big proponent of taking a woman that you already know a good deal about, that's from your hometown, from your high school, from your college, or something like that you know a good deal about, and she's already had that reputation, not just from the time that you see her and you got to figure things out. She has that reputation of being a wife material woman. And of course, you're not going to meet a brother and you ask about that woman. Oh, this is a wife material woman. But I'm just saying the different qualities and traits that she possesses would be one of a wife material woman. She's not a woman that's just easy to get. She's had 12 different boyfriends. She always with somebody and break up and make up. She's someone that most men have not have access to. and she takes it serious about who she's with. All right. And, you may have known of her for 5, 10, 15 years, and you max seen her with one or two men max. Any more than that, she probably just, she probably just with anybody. That's another red flag to me. You to have about 5 different boyfriends. Hey, you no longer qualify for me. It is what it is. Because most women that are wife material women, they cleave on to a man. And the thing is, if you picking a man that is a good man, you gonna cleave to him. And if you are picking men that are not good men, then guess what? That woman don't have discernment, so she's not gonna have discernment when she get with you. Y'all think that they read the scriptures and they just change. I mean, that's just not how it works. They change who they are as a person. That's not how that works, man. Anyone that knows a good amount of people that's quote unquote in the truth, then you understand that a lot of people, they never change certain ways. So you think a woman, like a lot of these women, they're role playing as Israelite women. You got role players out here. They just dressing like them and talking like them and saying shalom and ak and all that, but who they are as a core, they haven't changed. Okay, I get reports about these women sleeping around. I get reports about them causing all types of hell in the household and cussing a man out and stuff. Like, these things don't change. So if you think that you just because you got a woman that wrap her hair up and then read the Bible with you, you think you found a wife, you got another thing coming. Everything has to match up. All right. But of course, to go back to Shannon Sharp, he doesn't know about the scriptures, so he wouldn't know these things. So that's why he's in this position, because he doesn't embrace the scriptures at all. Just an old fool. Just like the man that he's obsessed with, LeBron Ramon James. It's so easy to see, like, a lot of people that are super LeBron fans, they carry a lot of his traits, like making excuses and childish and goofy. LeBron, 40 years old, still be dressing like he 18 years old, and he just not somebody I would want to look up to. Like this dude here, he's no elder. You wouldn't call this man an elder. He's an OG. An elder can impart wisdom. OG is just an old nigga from the block. I just still try to do young people stuff for the most part. He's definitely not someone I would want my son to look up to. That I would want to look up to. I would want anybody to look up to. How dumb you got to be to let someone 19, 20 years old to run game on you for $50 million. There's no point where $50 million isn't a substantial amount of money. Even if you have $1 billion, $50 million is definitely not something you just going to give away. And you don't care nothing about it, especially for this same purpose. So I might want this old fool around them. Just this idiot. But that's what you get for not knowing the scriptures and not embracing them, which this man does not. I believe him to be a Luciferian, but again, that's a whole nother topic. I'll kind of, say that for another time. But I don't believe none of this stuff. Shannon is accused of becoming increasingly verbally abusive, controlling, and violent over time. Once threatened to kill her and recording her sexual encounters without consent, according to the complaint. I don't know about none of this stuff. Verbally abusive. What does that even, really entail? Controlling. You can tell a woman, hey, look, I don't think you should wear that out. I mean, that split is kind of showing all your thighs and your butt. Oh my God, you're being controlling. The modern woman consider anything where you telling them right from wrong as controlling. So I don't know about none of this stuff. So it's not about the woman and if she's right or not. It's about being a man and not putting yourself in position, because that's what I'm big on. I'm not big on blaming women, because wicked women gonna do what wicked women do. I know the scriptures well enough to know that most women are wicked women. So I'm never surprised at anything like this. Nothing like this shocks me. But that's why as men you have to be as proactive as possible. And if a woman gets you, she was a head magician. She was she was a head witch because she ran all type of game on you, and there's no way you could have really predicted it. But something like this again, 19 years old, 20, whatever, on OnlyFans, and you think that she not out to get your money, you got to be a fool. Someone like that, if I was him and I did take her as a concubine, there's no way I would have, man, I'd have made her go through so many different precautions. She wouldn't even want to did nothing no more. If I really had to have it, but you know, um, but that's a whole nother thing as far as controlling your sexual appetite. Man, sex has to be something that you view as extra. It can't be something that you have to function. If you have to have something to function outside of your necessary needs of food and water, you're an addict. All right, you're an addict, and it's different things like with social media that we have to curb. We have to be aware of. You know, um, but in general, if you have to have this thing called sex and from random women like this, you're an addict. So you have to watch these things, man. But I'm just giving my thoughts on the situation for one, and one to bring a few scriptures in the fold too as well. Low hanging fruit, however, is still relevant for us to talk about as men. Get Stay out these women face, man. Like the saying goes, put your head down and just keep working. When you do that, you will attract women, that are of your caliber. All right, naturally, and you won't be like this fool here. That's fell victim to such an easy plot, something that's completely obvious. From this super young so-called white woman that he probably should never been messing with in the first place. Right. But again, even if you're not him, it doesn't matter where you are. Keep your head down and just work, man, and take care of your business. And you won't be so worried about the woman and having sex with everything that move. Right. Which leads me to another scripture. I think it's in chapter 26, if I'm not mistaken. This is not showing it. Let me grab it real quick. Sirach 23 and 17. All bread is sweet to a whoremonger. He will not leave off till he die. This is Shannon Sharp, a whoremonger. All bread is sweet. Even a 19-year-old OnlyFans account holder and distributor, a prostitute, a harlot. All bread is sweet. So all women are sweet, no matter if they're a harlot, righteous woman, wicked woman. All bread is sweet to this man. That's what a whoremonger is. Excuse me. He will not leave off till he dies. So this is also relevant to Shannon Sharp because he will not leave off till he die. He's 56, I believe, and still doing this. Either way, we know he's later half of the 50s, 55, 56, 57, whatever. And he's still doing this. He can't let it go. This is something that a 20-year-old man is supposed to fall victim to. Max 25, 26 or something. Max. But even by then, you should already kind of be gearing yourself towards, manhood where you don't fall victim to this. But this man is more than double that age, still falling victim to simple plots by a wicked woman. He will not leave off till he die. He will not stop chasing women until he die, until he just can't no more. And when he physically can't, he gonna get some pills to where he can just keep on. And then on his deathbed, he's still gonna be trying to pop something that he ain't got no business doing. That's what this is talking about, man. He just won't change his ways, or whoremonger won't. All bread is sweet to a whoremonger. All bread is sweet. Even this, even this account holder is only F. I mean, only F. Only fans account holder. All right, this prostitute, that bread is sweet to him. Like, come on, man. I couldn't think of too many things that's more ridiculous as a 56-year-old man to be, to be caught up in. But that's what it is. When you don't know these scriptures and you don't, more importantly, not knowing them, but abide by these scriptures, this is what happens. So this is a cautionary tale, right? For us not to put ourselves in the same position. And guess what? It doesn't matter if the woman old or not. She could be your age or older, you know, but you can't put yourself in these types of positions where you just meet with someone casually having sex and you're not wary of these things happening. You can go to a woman's house and she could be recording you. She could be trying to set you up, especially if you have, some type of status or some type of money, and you could not, and you still could be getting set up in today's world. She could lose the case, but still you could have that on your reputation. You can now have that a part of your image. Like now Shannon Sharp, all of his skeletons starting to come out the closet. All right, which, is irreversible. Like Chris Brown, him and that spat that him and Rihanna had, I feel like was every bit of over 10 to 15 years ago, something like that. But people still remember him by that. Whether he actually just dead right hit her and it was, wrong or whatever, that's a part of a stain on his legacy now, in the lack of better terms, or at least on his reputation, what have you. And this is going to follow Shannon, and it could follow you too. Different. Don't think that you exempt because, your name is John and you work at Walmart or something. It don't really matter. None of these things matter. You still could be set up the same way. And that's why it's easy for me to be with one woman, because I think that every woman is trying to set me up. That's how my mind works. I just think all women, any woman that I would talk to or whatever, I would think she's trying to set me up. I just think everybody trying to set me up. That's how I move. I think everyone is out to get me until it's been proven to me that you're not. That's just the way I move. And I don't let people know that. I'm not going to verbally express that, or you're not going to get that energy from me. And I'm not going to move in a way that you think I don't trust you, but I genuinely don't trust women in general, but just most people I don't really actually trust. When I say trust, meaning put myself in a position where I have to be vulnerable and I have to trust that you can help me get out of it. I don't really trust against all odds or, unconditionally. I don't trust a lot of people in that regard. So if I was him, man, I wouldn't trust women so much to the point where, like I said, you probably wouldn't even think it was worth all the stuff that I would have you through. It'd probably be not to the point where we meet each other, but from the point where I know that you want to engage with me in a sexual manner, and to the point we actually do it, probably be a 3-month vetting process. I have you sign this and that, and our lawyers this and that, and we have to talk about the terms and conditions. It'll be so legal that you probably would just lose interest. You probably wouldn't want to do it no more. That's how protected I would have things. But these fools think they can just parade around like Shannon Sharp. He can parade around just like, someone else. But again, even if he was just the average man, he shouldn't be moving like this with somebody like that. But either way, that's pretty much it. I think this was a yap session more than anything else. But I just wanted to kind of touch on some things that I think is low hanging, but also bring the scriptures into it. Lord willing, this was edifying in some way. Until the next time, I bid everyone a mighty shalom.